paper, I will try to move through
Podczas mojego wystąpienia
what was written in the book, but trying only to highlight some main points. So, of course, throughout the history, the technology was extremely important, and also sometimes, as with the Dome in Florence, yes, started completely different possibilities and different epochs. But at the moment when we are staying in such a critical moment where climate conditions compel us to rethink the way how we are acting with the environment, with architecture, how we should adapt to these changing conditions, we are staying in such a moment where the environment and nature is used in the design, but quite a lot of this design have this element of greenery which is used very instrumentally. And of course we had, yes, before, such examples as Hundertwasser House in Vienna, where the people regarded this as exception, not something which should be followed. Also, especially as Hundertwasser have behind his thought very strong ideological such thinking, where he developed a theory of a man and a tree as brothers, and trees should then start to be an element of cohabitating in a house. And this is here such action in the 70s, but later he got possibility to build a social house, so this house in Vienna. But of course, here this poster, which was the poster for Architectural Museum in Frankfurt, in the title has that it was a Sunday architect. So Sunday architect as a Sunday driver is somehow, so it has pejorative meaning at the start. Yes, it was not thought as something we should follow. More impact had the project by Jean Nouvel at the beginning, so on the verge of 20th and 21st century, where this famous wall by Patrick Blanc was something which was regarded somehow with envy and something which could change the aesthetic of architecture. And as I said already, we have quite a lot of projects, like here a new campus in Mainz in Germany, where the campus is placed outside the city and is getting into the nature, and you see here how the nature is treated. We have some elements which are combined, but we see that the architecture is something which is taking the nature even when we have some elements which are green because the law required it. And we are having now architects or thinkers who started research and started such approach to architecture, and not only architecture but also urban design, which is called biophilic design. And Stefano Boeri is one of people who is pressing for such new world with trees which are growing like forests only in vertical measure. And one of co-authors of this theory about biophilic design, Stephen Kellett, who is professor emeritus at Yale University, he stresses that the prevalent approach to sustainability still lacks a key ingredient, nature itself. And he's saying also, in our attempt to create a more sustainable environment, we attack the negative consequences of our artificial life on the natural world, but we have done nothing to bridge the widening gap between humans and nature itself. We now regard keeping higher vertebrates in old-fashioned barren cages as inhuman. We outlawed the old zoos and replaced them with exquisite reproductions of the natural animal environments, but we keep humans in inhuman environments. We give them a computer with a nice screensaver and maybe a poster of a potted plant, and if it's energy efficient. We call it, and maybe a poster, we call it gold. People don't live in efficiency alone. So, I have chosen a poem by Polish poet Helena Poświatowska because somehow for me it defined this biophilic or biophilia, which is of course a love to nature. And she's writing, I pray to greenery, roots I ask to tenderly embrace my naked shoulders. From singing ribs and pliant wrist, I'm building a church for Egyptian grime bugs. And of course, biophilic design is based on this notion, which got introduced first by Erich Fromm, then by Edward Osborne Wilson in 1984, and was basically a theory in social psychology. And starting with a book, Biophilic Hypothesis, in 1993, it got implemented to thinking in different disciplines and also in architecture and urban design, because biophilic design has differently to many other theories, this want to cover all issues which are in architecture and urban design. And of course, the architects should use a set of rules. Kellett formulated 6 main principles. Here I have 8, or slightly but 6 main principles, 75 rules, which all should be put into the design at once. So it's different to this ecological certifications where you can have 20% of something and you will get your platinum star or something like this. Here you need to cover all possible elements. And this approach is also has such pyramid which looks like nutrition pyramid when you look. It was designed by Tim Beatley, who is, as you see here, taking scale and frequency and duration and intensity of immersion of nature, and the most important element where we should daily contact with nature. What is important in the theory is also that Wilson thinks that biophilia is somehow hereditary. So we all have it embedded in our genes because we evolved from very nature-oriented species living in the nature, and even if we are now outside such normal contact with nature, we still have it somewhere in our heads. And people, as he's saying, people who don't even know like a snake in reality looks like, they dream about snakes, yes? And this is the idea behind, but the result of such biophilic project could be such street which is not very exciting, but has, as you see, quite a lot of green elements and also possibility for people to walk quite freely with this use of greenery. But creation, so here I will be a bit personal, because nearly at the same time as Boeri started his beautiful Bosco Verticale in Milano, I started my own concept on my own balcony to plant edible plants there, and started with these few pots. Then the balcony grew completely green. So after some 10 years, I see that really the temperature in the summer is dropping. I practically don't need to cover my windows from the sun because it's not that hot. But what happened also, this space got very attractive for, in this case, pigeons, to the point where I fought real fight with the pigeons to keep them out, and it ended with nets which are hanging now around, because my eco-environment was a little too much for me. So I don't have, again, so I was happy that I had bees, I have different other birds, but pigeons got me out of the equation. So this is one of technological problems eventually when we have such solutions, when we are living with birds and different species. At least my students are not very keen when they are seeing such pictures. These are pictures from a film about flying gardeners, which is another problem because we have volunteers who are tending this Bosco Verticale, and when we will have every building covered in green, we will not have that many volunteers to do it. And as you see, the environment is really here something we don't tolerate in gardens. We tend normally. So, and we have to remember in this sense that we started to build buildings to cut ourselves from the influence of the nature. So there is some contradiction in itself in what is architecture as architecture in the sense of protection. And we, of course, underestimate in these projects a bit the power of roots. You see here one of the factories in Łódź, which is of course slightly neglected, but I have chosen this because you can see what the roots can do. And even if we protect in this technological solutions from it, it's also not always possible. And of course, technology is coming to hand. When we had green roofs, the first green roofs in the 90s were said that they will last for 20-25 years without any problems. They were replaced very quickly because so the engineers haven't really know how the foil will behave. And the foil was too stretched, and they had very quickly to renovate these elements. Now they matured, but when we look, for example, on Paris, on Bercy, where the whole building is green, but still there are, yes, so when I have a living material, the living material is not always as I wish that it behave. We have also, so here's the project by Jean Nouvel, which just got finished 2 years ago. And you see, one thing is the difference between the imaginative world, but the elements, so these cubicles for plants got made completely different way as it was in visualizations. And anyway, this is a problem how, because of course, Bosco Verticale and here, so we have systems for watering the plants, but still when the plant don't have a hole in the cubicle, it's usually not working well. But this is such more commercial project where it's got integrated already this thinking that we have to live with plants. But this Bosco Verticale has an, yes, as you see, one thing is also you are not choosing the plants. We have this system, partly this is water which is coming so from grey water to drop to the plants. Everything is very sophisticated. But the amount of the use of water, and here from Bogota, such upper-end housing, and here they have 2 gardeners which are employed constantly and 5 people who are coming seasonally to tend this garden. And these are water pipes in the building which are necessary to keep up the whole construction. Another problem which I was surprised being in Paris, the connection, because when we learned, yes, the connection between buildings is the most important, but here the connection, we need the pipes again. And of course, again here, things which are not growing. And when you are staying downstairs, the water is dropping at you, which is nice in the summer, not always visible. We have also bioreactive materials, which are now in making, but they will change. So I found such old examples, but they will change our perception of architecture because we are not used to architecture which is suddenly mossed and covered. Again, engineers tend already to see what technical problem we will have with something like this. You are not choosing the plans yourself, the architect is making the plans you are living inside. And here again, Hundertwasser and Kunsthalle, and you see if this tree tenant have these good conditions to live. For Bosco Verticale, the plants were trained for 3 years to be able to live there, at least. And here we see these gardeners, so it's extensive technique where the people need some possibility to get there. And of course, we have a problem of privacy then also. And such technical patented, of course, solution, which is slightly abbreviation of this by Patrick Blanc. And this famous wall got completely renovated. It was during pandemic, so not everybody got the information, but they needed to insulate it once more because it still didn't work as they wanted. And we have an architect who is dedicating his designs to such green architecture, starting with one building, then going through such special part of district in Paris, Bio-Eden, with, as you see, we have here a solution of added structure to the wall, so it's better replaceable. And he developed again in the start of the 2020s a big housing estate with a big shop, also on the space of an old stadium. And the architecture, as you see, it's also using this point of added construction and making space which could be completely covered with the nature. And I'm thinking, yes, so I wanted to leave you with basically with this poem by T.C. Eliot, which was, of course, written as after First World War, but it's showing also such attitude to the greenery and the space, and I see it's slightly cut out the end, but he's leaving the people with such feeling that perhaps only dust is the solution. So, but anyway, we have to rethink what will be happening when we prepare our mass projects, not only singular objects which we are creating. So thank you very much. Sorry for longer.